And welcome back, JuddzBudz, episode 89. As always, your host, Spoke Z, joined by my good buddy, Mr. at State of Hoppy. Hoppy, how are we doing?
There's a lot going on, man.
I can't think of anything, you know?
Yeah, right. Not a single thing. No, we're good. In the middle of eating some delightful 7th Ave pizza. The breakfast pizza, of course. And actually threw on, they got this like dill pickle hot sauce at Lund's. Put some of that on before putting it in the oven. And business is good.
It's the stuff.
It's
the stuff.
When they say the stuff, this is definitely one of the like appendices for the definition.
Oh, wow. Love that.
Northland with Fresca, which is just my normal basic move, right?
That's a cheat code. Oh, yeah, that's the good stuff right there. How is Thanksgiving?
Dude, it's the exact same thing every year, and that's what I love about it.
Every time, baby. Every time.
You eat, drink, watch football, sleep, and then you just rinse and repeat over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, leftovers are delightful.
Yeah. Yeah, big fan of that. We talked about that. It's a phenomenal holiday. It was good. I had to work Friday, and so we all do Thanksgiving up in, we rent out this place in New Hampshire. So I drove back down Friday morning, first thing in the morning, worked remotely, then drove right back up, like right after work, because I can't I don't have a laptop to work remote. I have a big fucking monitor and like a full on like computer. It's just not mobile. And if you think the internet's bad where I live currently, up there's like no service or anything. It's a very remote area. So no one can ever tell. You know, it's not obvious. But it was good. It was good. It's nice doing we talked about this last week. It was like I love Thanksgiving because the whole point is essentially doing nothing other than eating and laying down and sleeping and watching sports. And it's great. So it's really right up my alley. A whole lot of nothing going on other than eating really good food. And there's always too much food, which is the best. So, yeah. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, we should probably just get into. I mean, I need you to drive the bus as always, but where do you want to start?
Why should today be any different? Let's start with like a soft, easy one here. Lob it in for the pitch. We got Patrick Kane finally landing on his destination. I still don't know if I'm like surprised or if I expected this all along, but he has signed with the Detroit Red Wings a 1-year deal. Isn't it just like 2.75 mil? I didn't fact check myself there, but it's definitely something small. Before we even talk about that decision though, Z, he is coming off of hip resurfacing surgery. What in the absolute fuck does that mean?
No, just like sand it down, just take it out in the garage, the workshop, throw it on the bench there.
Did they just fucking like drive over him with a Zamboni, or what is this shit?
What if that was part of it? Yeah, no, it's just it's a hockey
injury. Only resurfacing, I know.
Yeah, it is. It just like it. I mean, the commentary around Patrick Kane the last couple of years has been wild. I mean, like people just have to. Now he's not the same Patrick Kane as when he was 28 years old. Like one of the best players on the planet, whatever. But he still has his moments, and it's not like there's a reason that is it officially that he did sign for sure?
He signed.
Gotcha. So and there's a reason he's making less than John Klingberg, which that's crazy, but it's fucking nuts. He's not the same Patrick Kane, obviously, but at the same time, like for a guy that signs for 2.5 for 1 year on a team that's playing really well, he's got history with the Brinket, so it should.
Oh, does he?
What
does he? Did they play well together?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say they were okay.
What scale of 1 to 10? What percent did that factor in? Like, is it just a happy coincidence and that was the tiebreaker, or like was DeBrincat in his ear this whole time? He's like, dude, get over here.
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like he's got the history there. Obviously, they're up and coming. They have playoff aspirations. It looks like they should be able to get in. He's going to be able to play a significant role. Like in New York, he still like was given a bit of a role. But there was just like, that was like just a weird like deadline for New York when they brought him in too. After like Tarasenko, they just like brought in a bunch of like mercenaries almost, and it just didn't seem like it was fluid, I guess. But it's funny too, because you talk to a lot of the people that sign in Detroit, and they're like, I mean, Stevie Y was a big factor. So it is interesting to me to see like just Stevie Y being there and somehow drawing like it's always crazy to me. Like when people just like bring up the GM, I'm just like, that's so weird. Like, but okay, that's cool. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I just think the commentary was like, he's actually a terrible hockey player now. It's always driven me fucking insane, but I am going to be fascinated to see what he looks like after this hip surgery, or resurfacing.
Hip resurfacing.
After he got Zamboni. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's a team like that. Power play is gonna be fun to watch. There already was, but like the amount of cross ice, fucking just ridiculous passes are gonna be flying around. Are gonna be sick.
Yeah, but here, answer this for me, because like again, it makes sense. Like locationally, they're on the rise, and like really funny looking back to when we thought the Yzer plan was broken. Yep, I see it on TV right now. 2.75 is the dollar amount. But like, I would have thought for a team like Detroit, he'd sign there, but for term. Whereas if he's going to do a cheap 1-year deal, it's going for a cup. And I think Detroit can absolutely be a playoff team. And who knows, maybe they like rustle up, a series win. There's no way that you're looking at Detroit and calling them a Stanley Cup contender. So like, what happened here where he's like, yeah, I'll do a cheap 1-year deal with a team like Detroit?
I mean, how old is he now? Like 35, 34?
Is that all?
I can't remember exactly how old he is.
I would have thought he'd be 36, but maybe I'm wrong. 35.
He is 35.
That's right. That's right. Because he turned 35 right after free agency hit. So technically he didn't have to sign the 35 plus.
That's unfucking believable.
Oh, no, dude, that's for sure what it is. All right. Nope. I just cracked the code. It's just like when it's the reverse Goligoski, where Yzerman's like, dude, sign a cheap one, make it work for this year. We'll sign you to a 35 plus next year and we'll be good. Yeah.
I'd be curious to like, shocking. I didn't do any research before this, but I do wonder how many guys around his age or whatever, anyone that signs at this point in the season, how many guys are actually signing a multi-year deal? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of like people that sign this late usually is something like a 1 year, and then, play it out in the off season. But you look at a lot of like the cup contenders, and really the only one that I feel like there was like significant rumors that it seemed like it could be a real possibility was like Dallas. And like, I don't know, some of those contenders, I don't really know if bringing in Patrick Kane, if you're already going real well in the top 6, you have scoring up and down the lineup, like does bringing a guy like Patrick Kane at the end of November, like how appealing is that? I wonder. Like, I don't know. Cause like there's a question mark too of like, is this resurfacing? It's tough to kind of like, all right, this is the piece that we're going to add in to make this cup run. Like, you still don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be fine. Obviously, I think he's going to put up some decent numbers, I'm sure. I'll be curious to see how quickly they can kind of like gel right away. And I'm sure then that's where I kind of wonder if the Brinkett piece came into play at all. Who knows? They didn't whatsoever, but I'd be I mean, I would assume it did, but yeah, it is interesting. Just like with a player like Patrick Kane with his reputation, that's like I feel like what he said, it was like, oh, all right, crowd, well, that's crazy, and then kind of just like moved on. And again, as I've said before, I still haven't really just like got fully back into the swing of being on Twitter as often, but so maybe people are still freaking out, and I'm just not seeing it because I'm
convinced that you're on Twitter all the time. You're just not reading anything else. You're just constantly throwing stuff out there, and then it's like, oh wait, there's actually a feed I can follow. Weird.
Yeah, I just have everyone muted at this point. Anyone that's annoyed me once, which is just the bar so low to do that, you know. But I don't know. Like, I just wonder if the teams that are really looking at, you know, making a cup run, I'm sure they want to probably have more of a sure thing to go for, like towards the deadline. And as great as Patrick Kane's been, as good as he is, it's still somewhat of a gamble if that's what you're going to really. Because if you're bringing him in, you're not putting him in like a middle six, bottom six role, obviously. It kind of feels like this is the piece you're adding now. So I would imagine that there wasn't probably. I'm curious to see how many offers he really did have that were like, this is the guy we want to like put us over the edge, because it seems like that would have obviously been extremely appealing for if it was like, hey, we want you to come in here, we think we're going to win a cup, whatever. So we'll see if it's just like a play the year out, put up good numbers, and see what you can get at 36 years old. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, fair. All right. Nothing else you want to say?
What were the other ones like that? It was like Dallas. We heard a lot about like Buffalo.
I don't know, dude. I was hearing from a lot of places that Dallas was never actually interested. Right. Like that was a place he wanted to go, not a place that wanted him. Not that they don't want him, more so that if they're going to do anything, it's bolstering their blue line. Right. But yeah, I'm trying to think who else even was really in the running. I don't know. You'd think like another scary proposition, but imagine him signing like a cheap ticket to go to Edmonton with where they're at.
I know.
Like risky, but holy shit, could that be something?
Yeah, dude, that would be wild.
Like, oh, he wasn't an Erie Otter. That wouldn't really fit.
Yeah, no, you can't bring in a London guy.
No, that's kind of gross. Although, imagine putting him on a line with Sam Gagner over there.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah.
How crazy that they played on a line together, and I still think today, like if you were putting together the all hands team, they'd be 1 and 2.
Yeah, I know.
Like they are so slick. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy going back and finding like the old like Sam Gagner like shootout clips or just like breakaway clips, and it's like, holy fuck, was this guy insane? They have it like you throw Datsuk in there too with those fucking shootout moves. Jesus. Yeah, it's fucking crazy though. Patrick Kane, Detroit. Yzerman's gonna throw a fucking sweater on and jump on the ice.
Hey man, the Yzer plan is in motion apparently.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right, we'll just rip the Band-Aid off then and go into the less, well, not less fun. We'll just say it's a little bit dirtier topic, I guess. Corey Perry will not be a member of the Chicago Blackhawks moving forward. I'm just going to stop right there and let you take it from whatever direction you'd like.
Like, holy shit.
Unintended.
So I didn't actually go in today and read any real in-depth story of like what actually happened. It sounds obviously pretty fucking messy. So, you're shocking. Fucking Chicago again. It was wild how I think most people were pretty sure that the whole thing that immediately came was like, oh, it's because it was with fucking Bedard's bomb. Like, people wanted that to be so true. Like they so badly were like, I have never needed anything to be more true in my life. I'm like, that's kind of fucked up.
I didn't like, need it to be so true. Weird. I enjoyed though, like people just running with that because one person said it. Like, and some of the things that came of it, like some people are jackasses and like being idiots about it.
There's some real good
really fucking funny.
That one, there was like the one that they were like, yeah, he's like for like conduct unbecoming whatever. And he's like, I didn't know becoming a stepfather. Stepfather.
Yeah, a lot of jokes about like being a father figure and him taking it too literally. But the best one I saw was a meme of Jim Halpert from The Office when like I can't remember who asks him like, it's like, what are you into? He's like, moms mostly, soccer moms, yoga moms.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just so great. Oh, but yes, to anyone that hasn't figured it out yet, definitely not a scenario where Corey Perry had any kind of relations with Connor Bedard's mother. It's okay if you like had fun with the joke while it lasted, but if you like actually thought it was real or were hoping it's real, cool, I guess.
Yeah, that is weird. It's fucking weird. But I mean, it's just like Jesus Christ. I don't even know. It was crazy for a while because like there was a week where it was like he's getting scratched, he's stepping away, blah blah blah, and like no one was really saying anything. It was like, were they just hoping and be like, what if like no one noticed?
Dude,
what if he just like, and then they're like the contract termination. I was like, oh shit, he fucked up.
The what if no one notices? Like the team that's under the most scrutiny, just being like, maybe this will just like brush under. Well, and then with the rumors that are going around, for them to release such a generic statement just fueled the fires with the rumor, right? Like, just coming out being like, conduct that does not fit with either what he signed with the NHLPA or with our organization, and like wouldn't go into any more, but it was just like character issues. And it's like, well, this isn't going to go well because everyone's going to take that to reinforce what they think is true. And then Kyle Davidson comes right out. He's like, this incident has nothing to do with any of his teammates or their family members. And it's like, oh no.
It was like, yeah, right, motherfucker. Okay, you sick puppy.
God damn.
I mean, like, yeah, once again, shocking that this, like, Chicago is like, oh, well, if we just don't really say like exactly what happened, we can just be vague and no one cares about anything that we do. So we can we can just, that they'll forget about this like tomorrow. Right. And everyone's just like, yeah, no, we're going to run with the most insane conspiracy theory ever. And we're just going to now maintain that, there's still people who haven't actually looked and like read anything else. Like, yeah, no, this is exactly what happened. Right. With Bedard's mother. But it reminded me of like when like the summer, everything really went down with Chicago, like 2 days later on like that teamwork where like the job postings are, it was like Chicago Blackhawks are hiring a head of PR. It's like, oh no shit. Who's taking that fucking job? It's like salary $10 million a year.
It probably pays well. And it's one of those things too, where it's like the bar has been set pretty low. Like you're walking into a pretty cushy gig. Like worst case, you are just awful at your job and everyone's like, yeah, same old Blackhawks.
What was that guy gonna do? What was that person gonna do that they hired just to like, they never stood a chance. Yeah. Never stood a chance.
And killed another PR member. Goddamn.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking unbelievable. What a like Jesus Christ. And like Gun Tote and Granny just said, like, poor Connor Bedard is just sitting like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, now he has to deal with this bullshit. It's great. Like,
yeah,
it's wild. Like they brought in him, Foligno, and like Taylor Hall, good pros to show him the ropes and make sure he's not in his zone with all this shit. It's like, boom. That lasted about 20 games. And here we are. It's crazy because like, obviously he wasn't like, 1.5 points per game prime Corey Perry, but like he was actually like putting in points for him. Like they played the Lightning a couple days ago and he like lit them up and they won. Like it's crazy out. Like it just came, whatever. I don't know how much of the story actually ended up coming out. Like if the specifics, I know it sounded gross and shocking. Alcohol was involved, but I mean,
big
we'll
shot.
see where he goes from here. And if the Blackhawks can just stop doing this bullshit, I don't think so, but I mean,
I think
Jesus
they're
Christ.
addicted to it, dude. I think they just like they need it.
Like it was going too well for like 2 days. And
oh shit, we just hit double digits on the days since last incident.
Yeah.
Let's fix that. We're running out. We don't have enough numbers to keep up.
That's
only
the
1-2. We can't get past 22.
Fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, it's bad. But yes, most important thing, poor Connor Bedard. At least he, of all 18-year-olds, is probably mentally equipped to handle this. Whereas, like, dude, imagine even like Marco Rossi this year, if like a similar rumor broke about him, like that's gonna just really hit hard. And that's not to say that it's like nothing for Bedard. It's more just like at least he probably is handling it in stride.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's never really been he's never had the benefit of just being able to go about his like hockey life without all of people in his face.
Dude, you know what's going to be great though, because the Blackhawks are just so brain dead. They're going to look at all of this and be like, all right, we need to learn from this. How do we avoid rumors like this in the future about Corey Perry and Connor Bedard's mom? We're canceling all future mother trips or any engagement with families. Done. Also, we're probably going to get rid of the dad trips too, because there's a couple of them there that Corey Perry might be interested in as well. Like,
yes. Say goodbye to your families.
Dude, they had the dads out at Tom Reed's before the Blues game last night. Just a great crew of guys. They looked like they were getting a little tuned. But just like immediately, like, oh God, like, what if it was the dad's trip and Corey Perry just got his ass kicked?
Oh my God, dude. Like, that's crazy too to think of.
God damn.
Well,
yeah. So that's the Blackhawks. I mean, do we just make a weekly segment of what did the Blackhawks fuck up this week?
Yeah, I know. It like I mean, we're at that point where it's like we'd have plenty of content. They just can't help
in consideration for the future. Well, let's pivot then to the Minnesota Wild. Dean Evason, Creed Bratton, guy that it's weird when you have like half the fan base that is like applauding this and half is like pissed off. I'm not sure how to read into some of it. And I mean, we're going to spend a lot of time here on him and Hynes, but just your initial thoughts here on Dean Evason, the firing, and just what he did up until that time.
Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about this, I feel like now for a couple of weeks where it's like, is the seat getting hot? Is it hotter? It's continuing to get hot. And then all of a sudden they lose 7 in a row, like what, fucking 14 of 70 or some shit. And it's like the same story every game. And yet we would also come back to eventually, like, at the end of the day, yeah, it's these mistakes that end up a lot of times, unfortunately, being the reason coaches can. But like, how much of this shit really can we throw on him? And I feel like when this happens and coaches get fired, a lot of times it is like even GMs will come out and say, just like we did not want to do this. Like this, at some point, you only have so many options or like things you can do to try to save a season. And this is like the classic, like rattling the cage, like start up in the locker room is like waking everyone up and see what the response is. Cause I mean, like in terms of roster moves, can't really make any. Like you have absolutely no room to do anything at all. And it just felt like, I think, and like you said, like when it's half the everyone's saying like, oh, this is a bad thing. Like we're all pissed off about it. Half the people are applauding. It probably means it's like
reasonable.
So, yeah, it's like that's kind of how I look at it. It's like it sucks that this guy, like, because I do think Dean Evason's a good fucking hockey coach. Like when he came in, they were immediately very good, 100-point seasons. And then you can look at that the first round every year, the same shit. Which at that point, are you wondering, hey, well, if this was, if this ended up happening now, like why not after another playoff defeat too? But I think the bottom line was it just felt like this was the only move they could make right now in this moment to try to save the season. Because like whether or not this team does anything different in the playoffs, I feel like we should all be able to agree that coming into the season, this is a playoff caliber hockey team. Cup contender, no. Should they be making the playoffs and playing way better than this?
Borderline playoff, though?
No, I think they're like, I came in, I was like, I feel like they're the third best team in this division.
That was, in fairness, that was before the extensions in Winnipeg. Like, if you knew that Scheifele and Hellebuck were staying, would you have said that?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I wouldn't have, personally, but
yeah.
I did not. Again, that's not to say that I think that they're not a playoff team or that they're like have a dramatically flawed roster. It's just like if I had to bet heavily on them making it or not making it, I don't know what I would have picked coming in.
Right. Yeah.
But it's funny though, because at the end of the playoffs last year, everyone wanted him gone, right? And then we have a horrible season to start and people are like shifting to defending him. Like it's right. Interesting, but I don't know what Dean Evason is as a coach. And to my point, like he did great things. And I think there are really good qualities that he has that aren't even necessarily as much like coaching in my mind. Like he is a good person. He understands the players. He has a pulse on the room. He knows how to get the best out of his guys. I never really saw anything that convinced me that he's like a tactician of a coach.
Right.
And we've seen it, right, with the playoff losses because the other team makes adjustments and he just keeps doing the same thing. Until this year, he hadn't made really much in the way of lineup changes, shuffling lines, players in and out. But I don't know what he is because his good seasons and his bad season were carried by the same thing. Goaltending being incredible or shitty and having Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy being awesome or shitty. Nothing else is that different. Yeah, the penalty kill's bad. Guess what? The penalty kill was missing Spurgeon. It was missing Evason / Gaudreau. Like, you can make a lot of reasons for that on top of the bad goaltending that the penalty kill was one of the worst in the league. Mm-hmm. It's just hard for me to say confidently, like, I just don't know if he's a good coach. He will absolutely get another chance, and I think he deserves it. I just genuinely don't know if it's going to be like a stealthy, incredible hire or if it's going to go down as like, oh, no, but never mind. Right?
Right.
And I wonder, it's kind of funny because like he tries to play the hard ass and the tough guy. You know, he like wants to be buddy with the players. Is he better suited to be an assistant coach for that reason?
Right.
You know what I mean? And we've seen the opposite, right? Like everyone said Rick Tocchet couldn't be a head coach because he is the same way, wants to be buddy, is the guy that gets the best out of the players and can level with them and like lift them up when things are going bad and kind of push them harder when things aren't going good. But that's working for him. So I don't know, maybe Dean can still be a quality NHL head coach, but he got done dirty with just how bad the team played for him. Yes, he could have done things better. Yes, I've been on record saying that the Wild were not going to win a Stanley Cup with him as the head coach. Doesn't mean that I think he deserved to be fired. He's a scapegoat. Everyone said as much. It's just tough. And then, dude, his boy, his son, Freddie Gaudreau, scores a goal the first game after, hadn't scored all year. And apparently he's like texting back and forth with Dean, like, I need to see you. He's like, no, dude, you're good. He's like, no, like, I know you're okay. I'm not okay. I need to see you. Like,
crazy.
Like if he if Evason gets hired somewhere else, does he immediately like just get traded? To Mateo's point, like, like does he just auto follow?
I will only sign if you also trade for.
Well, also like Dean will demand it to such an extent that Bill Guerin's return is going to be incredible for
it. For McDavid, straight up.
It's part of my signing. Sorry, like he needs to be here.
Right. Yeah.
Now, question though, before we like make the full transition into Hynes, and again, like if you have anything else, we can definitely expand. But John Robinson making the point that a lot of people were kind of hitting on yesterday. Very refreshing to see 97, 23, 36 get to play with Faber and Brodin. John, I want to know why you listed all the forwards as numbers and all the defensemen as their name, but we'll cover that later. Who would have thunk it would help with O-zone top end play and D-zone breakouts? Who knew talent benefits talent? Like, do you see it being as simple as Dean just like ignored or didn't want to make extra adjustments to make that happen? Or is this just, yeah, we got lucky in one game where everyone was buzzing because the coach just got canned?
Well, so, and this goes to the point of like, all right, how many bullets in the chamber does Garrett actually have at this point right here in the season to save it? Like, obviously, what does everyone say when like a coach gets fired? Probably a bit unfairly at this point of the season. It's like, all right, well, like fire into the ass, like whatever, like wake the fucking room up, like, oh shit, where it's all of a sudden like you knew they were going to come out fucking like whether or not they were playing well, it's like a whole other thing, but they were going to be flying. And like you knew they were going to come out hard. Again, we've seen this with them specifically in the playoffs, the whole grit first bullshit where it's like, hey, they might actually just end up taking even more penalties. I don't know, but you knew they were going to come out fucking flying. And I do think it's like to that point, like that was a little small adjustment that like looked to make quite the difference immediately. Like, and this goes back to this is what I was going to say when you were talking about like, is he a tactician, Dean Evason? Or like how much of the X's and O's, like how much do we really know about him? I feel like a lot of it is the fact that he was a pretty big rah-rah guy. And like he at that team, especially when they brought in the like types of players that feed off that energy, like they were a tough team to play against, and he had them running through a fucking wall for him. And like, let's face it, like you look at, that like that Winnipeg game where they were down, was it 2 years ago? To come back late.
Wrong. Never mind. Sorry, I thought you were talking about a different one.
No. The Winnipeg game a couple years ago, they're down late. Yeah. A couple of years ago, they're down 2-3 goals late, come back tied up, win an OT, whatever. Like a lot of those goals are coming from like that fucking grief line shit, just running people, and just like a lot of those times that they were winning games, like a big shift in momentum of the game was just the grief line going out there and just burying guys. But then you also think that like, so now then this year, when like it's not really happening anymore, where like they're very reactionary. We've talked about like at some point the penalty kill is like someone just gonna fucking like block a shot. Is someone just gonna make one play and get the fucking puck out? At some point, if you're a rah-rah guy, unless on the X's and O side, like when that stops working, it looks bad. And like, all right, are they not responding to it as much anymore, which tends to happen with a lack of like playoff success, I feel like too. So at that point, it's like, all right, well, like you said, what is he as a coach? I don't really, who knows? But I do think Hynes has, and this is what I texted you. What's that last night? I don't know. Time's a flat circle. Couldn't tell you. But it was like, it feels like a bit of a lateral move. Like, obviously Hynes has his moments each time he goes to the team where there's like either one season of pretty good hockey or it's a mediocre year overall, but like that team will have spurts throughout the year where they look phenomenal. I think he's a fine coach. I still think it's somewhat of a lateral move, but it sounds like they're really, I mean, if they weren't interested in him long term, they would have just like had Darby Hendrickson probably step in as an interim.
So,
Which, by the way, how do you think he feels? I think he's probably sad. He's probably sad but he must feel light. He's
I don't know, dude. His tummy is feeling great these days. And the second you posted that, I was just like, God damn it. Yep. Like I was saying it, but you had the perfect way to just like, you took the video of the celebration on the bench after the win. You're like,
so weird.
This is going to be an adjustment.
This is going to take a whole lot of getting used to because,
yeah.
Well, and how they're playing. We won't really have to see it a whole lot anyways. Bang, got it. Because there's not going to be a whole lot of post-game win tellys.
We got 2 important comments here before we dive more into Hynes. First one here from Gun Totin' Granny. John Cooper is a guy's guy. He's done pretty well. I'll just yield the floor to you.
That all cut out. So now my internet's fine, but I think now my headphones.
Sure. John Cooper is a guy's guy. He's done pretty well. And I'm just going to yield the floor to you to reply.
Yeah. Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Victor Hedman, Sergachev, Andrei Vasilevsky. I think it helps when you can be because again, we talked about that before too, though. Like there are those coaches that they don't really have to do a whole lot, especially like in the room, really, but they are good about letting guys play. There are other like Minnesota's not in that kind of situation.
You know what? Though I know that you despise John Cooper, and I'll let you.
He's a good fucking coach, though.
Right, but I think that there is more to it than like I get your point. Right, good players make it work. He did a really good job of reining in those good players who literally like it's the same thing that I watched from Pittsburgh for a decade, making the extra pass when you should just shoot the goddamn puck. And he squashed that shit. They were the extra like 2-pass team. And he's like, if you just shot the puck instead, you'd probably score. And they're like, never thought of it that way. And he's like, yeah, that's right. Lawyered.
Yeah. And that wasn't in like, and I should have like clarified more. Like, obviously John Cooper's a very good coach, but he can afford to be like, or at least come off as like basically a rah guy.
Right. So why don't you like
to like coach a whole lot? I think he's a douchebag, but but he can do that shit. And he's also got like some of the best players on planet Earth in the lineup. And he can like, it also helps to let them be like, go ahead, do your thing. But when you got to reel them in, you reel them in.
Podcasting 101. I think John Cooper's a douchebag because.
No, it's better if I just say, I just let everyone carve me for saying it. No, I just like every time there is a clear penalty on Tampa Bay, they go to, he's like, he's like chewing his fucking gum loudly. I can basically hear his fucking like gum smack. Oh God, he makes me sick. It's fucking so annoying. I just think he's a tool. I don't like the way he like just comes off whenever the camera goes to him on the bench. I think he's a fucking asshole. And I mean, it's every time. Like, literally, Sergachev could 2-hand baseball swing someone in the back of the head. And the camera, they just know, all right, let's go to Cooper. Wow. And Cooper's sitting there like, that's a fucking disgrace. I love Mikhail Sergachev. He is so good. How could you put him in the box?
Now, in fairness, Z. Why
did he have his head there? Why did that guy put his head there?
We've learned that 2-handing a guy to the head just means pay $5,000 and you're good. So bad example, but no,
that's my bad. That's my bad for a comment.
That's Peros' bad. What a joke. The other one that came up here from Mateo, I don't understand why Guerin is suddenly on the hot seat no matter what happens with the team. Do you, first off, like, explain why that is, but then do you agree or disagree?
I mean, I'm kind of curious exactly what they're saying.
All right, I'll tee it up for you. Most people are saying that Guerin is on the hot seat now because he has now kind of used his last chip, right? He fired the coach. This is his team that he's built. Say whatever you want about the buyouts. Like, he did that. That is part of his plan.
Right.
He's the one that's telling everyone that this is a playoff team. We are going to make the playoffs. He fired his coach, who is the first one he hired. Now he's on his second coach. I think it's reasonable, like in a vacuum, right? Remove all the variables. If you tell me that a coach is on their, or a GM is on their second coaching hire that they made the decision on, and things don't get better, it's definitely hot seat time for that GM. Now, for the Wild, do you agree that like it's on Guerin now moving forward, or do you see there being spots of gray to that?
Well, I mean, I do think there is like spots of gray, but I do generally agree with that. Is pretty much the consensus, right? Where it's like, okay, here's the team that I built. Here's a massive, and like it's funny because they'd be like, oh, what are they supposed to do with the buyouts? Well, the one that he decided on. So obviously, it's like you could use that as like, well, what are they supposed to do? It's like, I don't know. Like, I guess technically, like he didn't have to. He did have to, but he's fired the coach now. He's built this team. He made the big decisions with the buyout to put them in the position they're in now. So, like, obviously, yeah, like he is put,
before
like,
the season.
there is like, what do you like? What's ever going to do now? Like, oh, John Hynes, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really blame Hynes now. And the players are here. Like, the guys that are here. They're also locked in, and who made that decision. So, yeah, I mean, again, what will be very interesting now is like, I still think this is a playoff caliber team. And in this division, I think you can still respond, play very good hockey. It's possible to get into the playoffs in this division, I think, obviously.
Yeah.
What will be interesting now is, like, let's say they just have a phenomenal, however many games left, what, like 50, 60 games at this point? I don't even know how many games to play. But what if they peter out in the playoffs the same way? Then I'm very interested in, like, what's the commentary now? Because, like, do the pitchforks immediately come out for Guerin when, like, I think if you put a gun to anyone's head, like, before the season, like, hey, this team should make the playoffs, are they any more likely to win a playoff round than the team that they had last year? I could not possibly say that with a fucking ounce of confidence, knowing Dallas and Colorado are still right there either way. You're playing one of them if you get the 3 seed. Or if you look, okay, wild card, you end up playing one of the Pacific teams. Like, you're gonna beat Vegas. You're gonna beat Vegas. Like, I don't really think but obviously if you make the playoffs, like, the expectation is, well, doesn't matter who, like, you're wanting to win around. Like, no one enters season like, can't wait to make the playoffs, and then that's it. Then I just stop watching. So it'll be interesting to see if they, like, have a phenomenal rest of the year, go into the first round, lose 6 games. It's the same bullshit. Like, do the pitchforks really come out for Bill Guerin? Because, I mean, any GM at all times, you could go as someone from Boston at the team that broke. There were still people going to the playoffs, but they've had pitchforks for Sweeney out for years, and they just won't go away anyways. So there's always going to be people wanting to, like, talk shit about the GM either way. But this is the year that specifically I'm very curious to see what the commentary is after a first round loss. They get there.
If they get there, right? Well, so let's go back to Hynes then, because it's really interesting that I think it's honestly hilarious the way his career has gone, right? Like, didn't really have success in New Jersey or Nashville. And sure, people want to make excuses about the roster and whatnot. It's not like it's a notedly better situation here, but I feel like he has the, like, biggest blank check ever, in the sense that he starts and his first 4 games are likely the easiest games that they're going to have in a 4-game stretch, having Blues, Predators, Blackhawks, and Flames. The bar is set very low with how the team has performed thus far. The goaltending is not going to be any worse. If anything, it might regress in a positive direction. The penalty kill can't possibly be as bad as it was, because, again, Evason was dealing with that with players out, so he's already got the bump there. It looks like Kaprizov and Boldy are finally waking up a little bit. We'll see how that continues to trend, but, like, He's basically getting the best of everything when Evason could not have had it worse. And if all goes poorly, like we just talked about, Bill Guerin's in the hot seat, not John Hynes. Bill Guerin set up this roster. John Hynes is just doing his best to navigate the nonsense. Like, he is so cushy and comfortable with this hiring. I'm actually kind of like jealous that he's just like, yeah, I don't think I can get fired. And it's just it's bizarre.
Somewhat like a very different scenario, obviously, but people forget that Bruce Boudreau survived like 3 or 4 GMs, which no coach has ever done that, because he's the man. That's why everyone loves him.
He's the king. He's the king.
It's like, what are we gonna do? Fire Bruce? No, he's cool as hell. All right, that's a good point. Didn't think of that.
But I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm with you on the whole lateral move comment. Like, he has done nothing to really excite me. People are like trying to say like, oh, but look what he did. He got the best out of Taylor Hall and the best out of Matt Duchene. And it's like, sure, like I see your point a little bit, but you can still look at everything else that happened and it's not good. And granted, the New Jersey one I almost want to throw out, right? Because like that wasn't a good team. But I think the Nashville team that he coached is somewhat comparable to what we're looking at with the Wild right now. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know what he's going to do to elevate this team. Now, a fresh look is always good. Players being on the edge and not comfortable, definitely good. You know, especially when everyone's already deemed that the second country club has come about. I'm just really curious to see like what is different. Because we got one game and yes, things look dramatically different.
Hey, they look real good. Like I was so tempted just to come on here and be like,
overhyped.
Oh, they're just bad. Like, I mean, they had a couple of real good games, but yeah. I was so tempted just to come on here and be like, yo, turned it around immediately. New team, cup contender. But dude, did you see at the third period? If Kirill tucked when he picked up the fucking puck behind the Minnesota net and went end to end through the legs, took Torrey Krug wide, and then put his stick between his legs and almost fucking went shelf, if he scored that goal, I would have given Hynes the Jack Adams immediately. Where it's like, Kirill is so back.
Would have never done that under Dean.
That was so nasty, where I was like, oh, he's flying. Oh my God, he's buzzing. But by the way, that finish from Boldy, while it was sick, it was also like, he clearly hasn't scored in a while because it almost fell into the net immediately after. He's like, oh shit, I forgot. I forgot what to do after. He was like flying face first to the post. But I mean, hey, small sample size, aka one game. They did look like a completely different hockey team. I mean, when they again, this whole season, that double minor for the high stick, that PK was unbelievable. Like, they were, and there was like, realistically, that's not an X's and O's thing. So like, where the fuck was that in any of these games up until today? So it's like,
players weren't playing for their job at the time. Now they are.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you said too, like, that's the other thing. It's like, these guys now, like this, like Hynes doesn't owe anyone on that team anything. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he's just like, all right, if you suck, you're gonna get benched. Like, that's that.
Well, no, that's still not gonna happen.
Well, they can't.
Zero cap space to
he's
play
like,
with,
wait,
but
yeah, for benching Kirill, even by we still have no one that we can afford to call up. So we're just gonna, we're gonna bench a couple of defensemen too. We don't really care anymore. And we can't call anyone up because that's where we're at.
No. What if the team was like, Dean's still here, right? Team's doing bad enough that, like, because right now, right, we're in agreement that a lot of players were playing good. It's just in key areas we were super deficient. Our top scorers, blue line was shaky, special teams is awful, and goaltending is awful. But like, a lot of players individually were playing okay. What if it's a scenario where there's like way more players that like aren't playing well? Let's say there's like 13 guys that are to blame and there's only a handful of others that aren't, like 13, 14, we'll say. And the solution is I'm benching the players that are playing well, and you're all basically going to get bag skated for 2 games.
Good luck, boys.
That would be great. Because like, think about it, you bench Kaprizov and like maybe one other guy, and you're playing shorthanded. Like the rest of the team is what's being punished, not that player.
Yeah. That's like when you ever show up late to a practice and the coach makes everyone else do sprints while you watch. Oh yeah.
It does feel shitty.
You're like, I hate this so much. But dude, I'm like Cosgrove said, Gus even gave up a softie. He also made a couple of fucking insane, outrageous saves where it's even this fucking guy. How does this work for goalies?
Yeah.
But, dude, yeah, I mean, again, like they just looked so much better, which that gives credence to the whole. All right, do they really like? Is it the day where they
is it real or is it placebo? Yeah,
right. And I mean, well, no, not after one game, but I think you just saw flashes of why it's okay to also recognize like, hey, they were just really underperforming basically constantly, but. Specifically, it was the thing that really convinced me was when they killed that 4-minute penalty. St. Louis had one shot on net, like 2 minutes and 45 seconds into the double minor, and they were like going the other way, starting rushes. I was like, holy shit! Like they've been here the whole goddamn time. And of course, Gaudreau scores. Of course, Boldy scores.
Dude, I'm sorry, I was at the game and. My butthole puckered up real tight when Boldy was on that breakaway. I was so nervous. I'm like, this defines the season right now. He scores, he's back. He misses, he might just go back to Boston and live in his parents' basement. I don't know.
I know. He could come hang, dude. He can pay for the new internet. just foot the Wi-Fi bill. But I mean, we'll see now if now guys like Boldy, Carell. I mean, Spurgeon and Brodin both were also unbelievable. I mean, Faber was just doing Faber things.
He was just doing Faber things, yeah.
But like even just seeing Spurgeon be Jared Spurgeon again, because I thought that was easily his best game so far since coming back.
Russo's on the train with us now. In his latest episode with LaPanta, he said like there is no way that Brock Faber is not the next captain of the Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
It's just very nice to have him agree with us because usually we're idiots and he does not agree with us.
Usually we're quite aggressive with our takes that don't line up with anyone, and we end up being wrong 90% of the time. So it feels good to possibly be on the right side of this one. It's the most work I've seen Space Jam out of Cosgrove.
What are you trying to say, Cosgrove? You're saying that wasn't Mike's secret stuff?
But bottom line is, it really sucks for Dean. Like
it does. I feel terrible for him because like what happened was not from his coaching. Period.
Right.
But
let's hope John Hynes the third time's a charm. Because as I was starting to say earlier, like if they weren't interested in bringing him in long term, if he wasn't the long term plan, they wouldn't have hired him right now. They would have just had Darby interim head coach and then figured out in the offseason. Did he sign like a lot? What did they say? How long his deal was?
So it was like really awkward. So Dan Barrero on KFan had Guerin on, and it was like a really awkward interview. Not because like Guerin was standoffish at all, but Barrero was kind of asking some douchebag questions, and I enjoyed it. And Guerin was just like not giving great answers. But the best one was, so you obviously signed this new coach. I haven't seen anything released about the contract details. Is that something that's going to be kept secret? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, I guess. And he pushed him. And finally he's like, it's a multi-year deal. That's all I'm going to say.
That's crazy, dude.
A little testy, but I don't know. Multi, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, Minnesota sports, this is going to be enough to be better. and they're going to be like the 9th or 10th team in the West. They're going to have a worse playoff, or they're going to have a worse draft pick. They're not going to make the playoffs, and it's just going to be bad. Let the ship sink. Get someone good. This is a fun draft class.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how many more like crazy like adjustments Hynes gonna pull out, but I mean the ones last night obviously were nice to see. Even just like deployment of certain guys, like forward lines deployed at the same time as certain D pairs, where there were. I mean, because one of the criticisms you can levy it towards Dean is like there were definitely times where it was just like you go, oh shit, like what? All right, fuck. Once he didn't have like the grief line,
Kaprizov,
like,
no. Coach,
he was like, oh shit. It's like, yeah, coach, he is out there. Oh fuck. All right. Do we have any more of them? But we'll see. I'm just gonna remain hopeful because obviously we saw it last night. There's still a good fucking hockey team in there.
Totally.
Love the comments from Faber too. The rookie, of course. There's like some phenomenal post game or whatever, like day of, like before the game. His comments were great. So we'll see. But pouring one out for Dean. He's the man. It's going to take a whole lot of getting used to after games, not seeing him just assault 7 people within 10 seconds just by the vicious punches. It was legitimately eerie when the camera goes to the bench. He's like shaking.
He's just like shaking hands. Like
Darby was like, oh. What if he was like, gotcha, bitch, and just like hit him harder?
He reaches to shake his hand, and Darby's just like, oh.
Darby just punches him back. It's like, oh shit, sorry. Oh, we don't do that here anymore? All right, fuck. All right. Sorry, bro.
So I gotta ask though, Darby has survived every coach firing in existence. How is Darby still here? And I'm not taking digs at him. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, how is he the only one that's not even being talked about?
It is interesting. Like, at no point was it like a, hey, Darby head coach. He also doesn't get the criticism either, like you said.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like he's just there. Like, they're like, oh yeah, you guys know that like Darby doesn't actually work for the team. Like, we just let him stand on the bench and do his thing. Like, he's a volunteer. We're not going to turn him away when it's for free.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it has to be just the fact that like he didn't necessarily get named as the guy running the power play, running the penalty kill, like in charge of anything specific.
What's he do?
Pretty much was.
What's
like,
he do?
Well, it seemed like to me like there was a whole lot of X's and O's that he was coaching. Like it almost felt like he was more of an X's and O's guy, like in small area parts of the game too. If you see like the clips of them talking before games, a lot of times it's Darby saying like just specifying stuff in the game more so.
You understand that's just him holding up the iPad and like pointing like, guys, yeah. So that right there, that's the first goal scored in the history of this franchise. You know who that is? Like, yeah, Darby, we knew the last 7 times. God damn it.
He's like, all right, and I don't know, fucking Dewey, eat some paper. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
I do want to apologize though, because Beckett Hendrickson, future stud for both Gophers and the Bruins. We're going to get him on the podcast eventually. So if he listens to this, all of that was just, you know, because me and Darby are buddies. Just ribbing.
I love that he hasn't ended up in like anyone's crosshairs.
Well, no, that's what's fascinating. Like, I'm not taking digs. I genuinely don't know what he does. I do not know. And it's just like this whole like mirage, like it's a mystery. Like, yeah, he's here and no one seems to love or hate him except for Dean after games where they win.
Except when good things happen, the camera just goes to Dean. He's just punching him in the face. It's crazy. The players are just scared. They're like, that's the only time they're ever playing well. It's because he is just teeing off. Like, Jesus Christ, put me on the ice. Whatever it takes to make you stop punching Darby.
Dude, it's one of those undercover things where like Craig Leopold is just a front and Darby is actually the owner of the Minnesota Wild. And they're just like playing this whole like role reversal thing. He's like, let me just like pretend I'm a normal guy and I'm a coach still. Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, now that you bring up Leopold too, by the way, like people didn't want to bring up like Guerin's hot seat. I don't know I don't know how hot of a seat like he actually will have, like in terms of the fan base and people like covering. I'm sure he obviously does no matter what.
The only person that can fire him.
Guess what? Yeah. That doesn't fucking matter at all. Like, I think Leopold loves Bill Guerin, and I feel like he's probably sick of firing GMs. By the way, I feel like he probably doesn't want to do it anymore.
I don't know. Maybe he's like
they turned over a couple real quick though. And I would imagine
he's one of them turned out to be a scumbag. Like, yeah, that happens.
And I mean, it doesn't even matter. It's Minnesota, like that. Like in terms of like gate, like that's a team that makes money too. By the way, no matter what.
But that is the key though.
The playoff gate would be.
Let's say the Wild don't make the playoffs this year because of the bad start. If they're in jeopardy of not making the playoffs again next year, even though the buyouts were like agreed upon and part of the plan, I don't think Craig Leopold will stomach 2 seasons of not getting the postseason ticket revenue. Like,
yeah.
That is where I see the line being crossed.
Yeah, I think I wasn't necessarily saying like it's not. There is no line. I think I was more so in the camp like it's going to take a whole lot. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That is the line. There is nothing else. Like Guerin could do whatever it turns out that Corey Perry did, and you're gonna have Leopold be like, "Well, yeah, like, are we gonna make the playoffs? Oh, okay, yeah, we're good.
Gate revenue. All right, whatever. I don't care."
Are people dumb enough to buy the $300 custom jerseys from our pro shop instead of just getting them online for half the price?
Is that you say? Oh my god, I won't, but they make me sick. Some of the shit that they're selling.
Again, people are dumb enough to buy it, so like
it is and you could say this about a whole lot of pro shops, so it's not specifically that.
Oh no, to be clear, I'm targeting the industry, not just the Wild.
Yeah. It's just like there's so many things I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like $185 for a fucking hoodie?
Dude, the one purchase I've made was a hoodie that was listed at $120. But it was last year's model and they were trying to get it off the shelf. So it was literally half off and I got it for $60. I'm like, all right, I can tolerate this. It's a cool hoodie.
Yeah.
That is my only purchase at a game. Oh, and had to buy a hat for someone once because it was their first game. And like, I can stomach $30 for a hat. That's fine.
Yeah, dude. Like, oh my God. Here, Boston's out of control, dude. Like, they put out the shittiest fucking hoodie a couple years ago. And it was $175. And I was like,
Jesus Christ.
What? It just there's nothing cool about the sweatshirt.
Well, dude,
it's just a hoodie.
So there is
it says Bruins on it.
Well, dude, there's a cult following out in Minnesota for UNRL.
I love them too. That's what drives me nuts.
But their shit is so expensive, and like half the time it's literally like a black hoodie that has Minnesota Wild and the logo all in black. So it's literally just like solid color. And they're like $150. And it's like,
That is funny. That is very funny though.
What?
Like, you can't really see anything on there.
Well, no, this isn't a
murdered out
because they sell out. They sell out. It's brilliant business. It's more I'm hard judging anyone in the fan base that like lines up to buy that shit. What are you doing? And also that great quality. Like they do okay stuff. Nothing as good as Waggle Golf does. But
obvious. Next question.
I hate, and I'm on an island for this one. I hate the hoodies where like the neck comes all the way up to like under your chin. I can't wear those hoodies.
Yeah.
Like the one you're wearing right now is a good hoodie.
Yeah. It's like I'm getting choked. This is weird. I'm not into this. I like
I don't have a safe word when it's a hoodie.
Yeah, exactly. I like that I have a bunch of their pants, which I love. Big fan because you can wear them golfing. I wear them to work all the time. So no free ads though. Doesn't really matter though because they're fucking $1 million anyway. So who the fuck cares?
Gun-toting Granny, the prices on the Hockey Fights cancer jerseys were so sad. That's why Dino got fired.
What if that was in the press release?
Boom, roasted.
Yeah, fuck.
And also V-necks. No, never. Shut up, Isha. Hate them.
I mean, good God.
V-necks are just, city life indeed.
Yeah.
Except it's like South Park with City Walk, the Shitty Life Project. Shitty Walk, take an order, please.
All
right, so we've already passed the hour mark, and we still have some prospect coverage for everyone. This is going to be we'll see how this goes. I don't know. Z, you supposedly are up to speed and an expert on the Iowa Wild again. Fact?
Yeah. Well, no, but I watched their games this past week, and then I've obviously seen. I think the rest of the games is probably 5 or 6 I've actually watched in full. Usually, I'll catch periods at a time, but like there were definitely some common themes in the games I did watch this week that I've seen throughout the whole season. But a couple of ones I did really actually want to talk about was, first of all, like, and it's something we've discussed so many times before, but like, I can't be more impressed with Damon Hunt's transition from the WHL to just like pro hockey, because same thing. Well, we always talk about it. It's just like, I had no idea how that was going to go. It could be, is he actually going to adjust to play like normal defenseman hockey, or is he going to try to do the I'm more athletic and better than everybody, I am a rover, not a defenseman, I'm going to score 20 goals every year? But like specifically, it was Saturday's game. I think it was Saturday's game. He was, so there was a 2-1 loss to Hershey. They didn't have like half of their lineup. They're now like, they were in 3rd place. Now they're in 4th. They were on like an 8-game point streak. Like it's interesting because a lot of the guys that were lighting it up last year, like a Sammy Walker, Nick Petan's a fascinating type of player where like he's probably way too good for the AHL, but not good enough to be like an NHL regular type guy. He's one of those, but like in the AHL, he's so fun to watch. And like Petan's obviously still, they're like leading the team in points or whatever, but not the same degree as he was last year. They obviously don't have Rossi. Boldy's been gone for a year and a half at this point, but like a couple of those guys are now full-time NHLers, whatever. But they're getting a whole, and the thing that is actually exciting is this is the year that they really are heavily relying on like young players. So the game I watched, it was the 6 D-men. It was David Hunt, it was Carson Lambos, Kyle Masters, Simon Johansson, and then Ryan O'Rourke was either sick or injured, can't remember. So they had Brendan Miller playing, and they had a 7th D with Mermis. But David Hunt was by far the best player on the ice. They're playing a very good Hershey team, and like I think the first period they may have given up 4 shots on net, but like specifically on Hunt, like he probably played close to 30 minutes. He was shutting everything down defensively, poised, decision-making was perfect, impossible to forecheck. Like he just looked like a guy who just came off like a 10-game stint in the NHL and brought that type of play back to the A. And he just looks at this point like he is just about ready to be a full-time NHL defenseman. Obviously, like he's not been given, you can't actually say that with any like real degree of confidence because it's only been a handful of games, but like just watching him play in the AHL, it's just so impressive because it was always going to be an interesting transition. But like his full, like how dedicated it's just to playing the right way, and just like even the little decision making, like it's crazy just because he went from being just this like wild card on the ice. It was very fun and entertaining, but he's so smart. And like he was keeping gaps on guys and just deleting people. He was so smart with like when he was pinching down the wall, he won it every single time. Sometimes he'd hang on to the puck and create a scoring chance. Sometimes he would just like knock the puck back down into the corner. Maybe they get a change, whatever. But it was just every decision he made was the right one. Something positive happened immediately thereafter. But like it made me really believe that he is at some point going to be a very good regular NHL defenseman. even if it takes, some time for him to eventually get that role. He is close. Like we've always talked about it was close between him, O'Rourke, or like when Lambos first got drafted, it was like, who's going to be the first one to really get that chance to take that step to be a full-time NHL guy. And I'd say, at this point he is firmly in the lead because he's obviously got a chance now at this point too, but I had to talk about it because he was so fucking good.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny though, like he only played like 3 games at the Wild, right? But the way you said it, it's like he played 10 games up in the NHL. Like I imagine with how the season started, 3 games of the Wild probably feels like
yeah, it probably felt like 30.
So he definitely came back with 10 games under his belt.
He came back, bags under his eyes, like, Jesus fucking Christ, that was terrible. I don't even like that.
So, guys, what do you think if I just like stay here?
He's like, what if we just, maybe later. Maybe we try again.
They're gonna call him up, be like, oh, sorry, I don't have my toothbrush packed yet. Ask someone else. I'll come next time.
I can't. I don't want to. Shit. I'm hurt.
Fuck. Blew my cover.
But dude, he was so goddamn good that game. And it sucks because they had so many fucking scoring chances. They couldn't convert. And like another guy, and the guy that I do think is realistically, like, I think he can be an NHL defenseman, a regular guy somewhere. I think Mermis is I think he is an NHL D. Like, I think he can be a third pair reliable guy, like that has good enough foundational tools where you're not just like throwing him on the ice to give him like 8, 9, 10 minutes. Cause he played well when he was up here. But he did the same thing. Like he was dominating. He made the one mistake he fucking made was a real bad one. Cause like the whole game, like he was escaping for checks and just by himself creating transition, like flying through the neutral zone. And he tried it the third period, like the worst possible time. Like no one behind him to cover for him. Poke check, stripped of the puck. Like Wallstedt makes one ridiculous save, and then the puck gets cycled back out to the point. Everyone's been stuck out there for 2 minutes, and then they get their second redirect goal of the game. They lose 2-1. But it was brutal because like Mermis was unbelievable the entire game. But I do think that's a guy, like I think he is he can be first of all, cheap for any team really. Like reliable third pairing D man. He skates well, he's smart, he like will chip in, like he's not like a black hole offensively too. Like he can give you a little, no, he's not going to put up 10 goals, 30 assists, whatever, but he is at least capable of like putting some kind of offense up. So I like Mermis a lot. He spent so much fucking time down there, and like that is not an easy place to be. Just like because there were games where he just had to be like in the absolute like shit. Like they either whether it was like they're playing poor or there was like, all right, it's just like we gotta fucking deal with like McLeod and Baddock just like beating the shit out of people. And then he's like, God damn it, I guess I'm doing this now too. Like he's seen it all. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But I do think he can be a reliable, solid third pair D-man that you can use for more than like the 8-9 minutes a game. But he looked really good too, other than that one goddamn mistake. And it's also tough too when he's been up and down. Like I feel like before he actually played, he went up, like got sent back down again. But maybe I'm wrong. Either way, not an easy adjustment to make, but he looked real good. And then in terms of like the other defensemen too, like the flashes that you could see from Masters and Lambos, like they still need some time to marinate and like.
Well, they're unique people. We can talk about each of them separately.
No, I know, but like there were like probably 3 or 4 separate plays. Each of them had very similar where they like. The one thing I will say, I love that they were willing to try, like even if it didn't work and they coughed the puck up and it was like not a great turnover, the fact that they were bringing to the game with confidence some of the plays that they had been capable of making that really like made them pop the past couple of years. I love that they're still willing to try and they're not getting punished for it. Like Lambos was so close to pulling off this ridiculous like transition where he's just like dicing through
every he evades a forecheck, dices the first two guys coming in support, and then it goes like between the legs, gets the entry, but then coughs it up. Immediately it goes the other way. But he got sent right back out there like the next shift. And like, so I love when the young players are at least trying that stuff and aren't afraid to like, because there's so many guys that like some of that stuff is like the best parts of their game.
Zach Benson.
And they get punished. That was insane. They get like punished for it. And then they just like are in like a shell almost. But I think they still need to learn how to pick their spots a bit. They're still getting used to playing like pro hockey, obviously. But you can see the flashes, man. Like there are some plays that they make. And like Kyle Masters, again, so much fun to watch. He's a little bit more inconsistent with like handling forechecks at the AHL level, obviously. But it's still there in like spurts. And like just where the game's going to, I think both of them have like serious high potential, especially here in Minnesota. Like it could be a very, very fun decor in like, 5 years probably? Well, because Masters has a way to go. Lambos is closer out, like with just given their pedigree or whatever. But and Lambos gives you a little bit more everywhere. But give them at least give Lambos this year. We'll see what happens.
The
next few years. But like, God, you could just see it. Like every once in a while, they make one play, like, oh my God, like they are fucking unbelievable. But I just really, it was fun seeing a decor of like all young guys.
No,
because
totally.
Like we were so close other years with Iowa where they had this roster of like, oh, they have some young studs finally getting a shot in the A. And then it was like, yeah, but we're going to actually send like half of them to the ECHL or just send them back to junior. And we're going to roll. We're going to put fucking Adam Beckman on the line with McLeod and Baddock.
Hang on, though. Didn't someone just get sent to the ECHL?
Yeah, David Spacek just got sent down there.
That one stings a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had his flashes too in the games that I was watching before. He had first goal a couple of games ago. But I mean, given where he is at currently, and then just like the options that they have in that decor, like probably better to let him go get 25 minutes a game for a little bit here. And I mean, Pavel Novak started in the ECHL this year, lit it up, immediately comes to AHL. He looks fucking awesome too. He was great. Another guy, he's a small, like scoring winger. So obviously it's going to take a whole lot of adjusting, especially if they're missing an entire year of hockey. But like, I'm going to get another guy, like the playmaking took a massive step his last year in junior hockey. And then like the games that we've watched from him in the AHL this season, like he's super physical. Like he fucking hammered a guy on the forecheck. I've never seen him do. I was like, I've never seen you fucking do that in your life. And he was, if people that used to listen to this when it was just me doing the full roundups all the time, half the time I would spend talking about Pavel Novak. His last year in junior was like, hey, he's doing great, but he still does not know that he's allowed to move his feet in the defensive zone. Like he just unplugs the controller and will glide like a fucking almost like a Klingberg type move. It's like, oh yeah, no, I am on the ice. Okay, I'm not just watching. But he was fucking working his bag off too. But like again, another guy's got flashes. He throws the play. He fucking got robbed of a backdoor assist. It was brutal.
Real quick though, let's pause now that we're getting into the forwards a bit. First, thank you, Granny. We'll miss you. Everyone, hit the like, just like Granny says. Throws out the can't be worse than Goose or Merrill on D when we're talking about Mermis and Hunt. And Katie Dynison, who hasn't commented much before, so welcome, Katie, if you're new. We should have kept Mermis and sent Merrill to Iowa or literally anywhere else. Honestly, if salary cap wasn't deterrent to that, maybe it would happen. But two angles here, one that might be positive, one that might be negative. The D coach for the Iowa Wild got brought up and is now the assistant coach in Minnesota after the John Hynes hiring. Because again, like they'll probably wait until this summer to fill out the rest of his staff. But on the plus side, he might go up and be like, guys, you know that like Merrill and Goligoski would be our number 4 defensemen down in Iowa. Like maybe we can like trade one of them and bring someone up. That'd be kind of cool. Do you worry at all though for guys like Lambos and Masters, who, like you said, have made big steps and like you're seeing some exciting things? Do you worry about their development being derailed at all with like brand new coach already? Players are still getting used to like new systems and everything down with Iowa, but then to lose the guy that's leading the defense, any concerns on that delaying any kind of development?
Not really. Like, I feel like what we see a lot with young players coming in, playing their first year of pro hockey, especially, is like the big adjustment really just literally playing pro hockey, where like any coach they're going to have, it's a pro fucking hockey coach, but like, and especially when it's like just the D coach, I don't think that really does. I don't think that they're not going to be like, well, now what? Like especially a kid like Lambos, sure, where I think with him, it's even less about just like the finer details with like actual defensive hockey. It really does just come down to some like decision making with him at times, which doesn't need to be a specific D coach or whatever. So I don't know. I don't really worry about like the D coach getting sent up or down, whatever, like leaving. I don't think that'll have a
fair.
But it is interesting just to have that in the back of your head though, because like,
but
it's
maybe
crazy.
Hunt gets called up now. Maybe Hunter Murmus gets called up. Yeah. Maybe we get a trade. Who knows? Whatever.
I mean, I'm telling you, I thought when I was watching those games, I was like, Dakota Murmus should be on this, like, should absolutely be the 6th. Well, with those two, the 5, the 5th on this fucking hockey team. I liked him a lot, dude. Like, I think he gives you a little bit of everything in a third pair role. Like, obviously, you're not putting it up against the big boys, but you don't need to. And again, that's the guy too. Like, everyone was focusing on Beckman and those players, like the forwards, for like who could actually be a surprise and make this fucking team. Like, well, Dakota Murmus is there, and he's definitely better than both John Merrill and Alex Kolakowski at this point. But contracts.
Yeah. So. All right. Fair. Well, let's get into that guy though. What has happened with Adam Beckman? Like, we've gone from not knowing if he can transition from what he was doing in junior to professional hockey. Then we see him go full rock star mode in like preseason games. Then we see him get sent down to Iowa and get buried with the players you mentioned before, playing with like McLeod and shit. Then he's shooting pucks in the driveway in the summer because that was the prescribed fix. And now he's just getting like, he's gotten no looks. There's been no talk about him. Does this guy have any shot in hell of playing for the Minnesota Wild more than a couple of games? Like, is it kind of written on the wall that he is just not long for this organization?
I mean, it kind of feels like that, to be honest with you, because, like, you know, we talked about it before, too. Like, this whole idea of, yeah, you can never, like, overdevelop. I thought at a certain point last year, I was like, I mean, he's done, like, especially the year before, like 2 years ago, he looked, I mean, he was, like we talked about, like buried pretty much. And playing, I still can't believe it. Fucking the fourth line of Beckman, McLeod, and Britt Panic. But it's, we're at the point now where like he has a great year last year, completely different player. Starts off this year great. Like I think he had 4 points first 3 games. He was averaging like 4 to 5 shots every single game. Obviously, he plays hard. He's scrappy. Like he literally, like, it's not like he's just this sniper that like stands on the periphery. Like he is everywhere on the ice, and he gets to the hard areas. Like he loves scoring goals, but like. It's interesting. He had the great first 3 games. I think the game 4, he had 0 shots on net. He was -4. And then he just went into this rut of like 6 games, comes back and plays great for their 5-game stint, 7 points, I think, couple of goals, little snipes. And he was like confident again. And right now he's fighting it. Like I'll be honest. Like I wrote it down a few times on Saturday when I was watching, as I was taking notes. Ghost. Didn't see. Like I forgot
7 different times. I was like, oh shit, I forgot he was even out here. Still had a great scoring chance. So like, I don't know. I'm at the point now where I'm like, is there even, like you just said, like, is there even like, is there a path? Because I don't, how much, it's not like a character thing either, by the way, like obviously. And we've seen him do what he can do in the AHL, like in spurts maybe, but like even when he's been called up to the NHL, he at least looks like he can play. When he's even being thrown out there on like a 4th line, I think he scored like what 2-3 NHL goals that got taken back too. Like every time he scores, it's fucking. I'm like, God damn it! Like,
but
let
like
this fucking kid score.
He had so much like more. I don't even know the proper phrasing, but he scored a goal and everyone knew immediately because the electricity was flowing.
Yeah.
Like he had so much more spunk to him than like any of the players on the team.
Well, that preseason was crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah. So
I just wonder now, like, you know, you look at, especially with the guys coming over that are projected they should be able to make this team soon.
Yeah.
To like the guys in Europe, you've got a bunch of other guys playing college hockey, junior hockey, and like, I don't know if it's at the point. I mean, and if I'm Adam Beckman, I'm sitting like, I don't like, I want to play here, but
what more is there for him to prove in Iowa?
I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. And like, it's not like he's been like, again, this year he's been inconsistent. And when he's bad, you don't see him. Like you forget he's on the ice. That's fine. But I just don't know that. Again, I'm saying I thought he should have been in a position to make the team this year after his season last year. With the fact we were all wondering if he had a chance after that one ridiculous preseason 2 years or 2 or 3 years ago at this point. I don't know really like how much there was for him to do in the AHL. And now you're just like kind of seeing him going in hot streaks, cold streaks. I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, like looking, like trying to project this roster the next couple of years. Does he end up like, do you pencil him in somewhere? Like I have to work the pencil him in because I want to.
Yeah. He'll be on Draisaitl's wing.
I mean, at this point, what's he, 24, 25? Like,
is he even that?
I don't know. I can't remember. What was he, 2019 draft, maybe? So that would make him 22, 23, maybe? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. But like the thing for me, man, you mentioned it with Nick Patan, right? Like we've seen it. He is too good for the AHL, not good enough for the NHL. Beckman, too good for the AHL. We have no proof on whether or not he's good enough for the NHL yet. And that's what's frustrating. Like if they knew, like, nope, this guy's just not right, get him somewhere else. You can get something recouped in assets. It's not going to be anything crazy, but also let him go on and just live his life. It's just
that's ridiculous. Where I'm at with him. And I hate it. And he had like kind of the misfortune too of like, so he was here, what was it? I think it was, I can't remember if it was the 18 or 19 draft, but he was the year before Brackett comes in, right? And at that point, when he gets drafted, he's like, oh, look at that. He fell to the 3rd round. He could actually still end up being a steal in the 3rd round. At that point, the Wild prospect pool was essentially empty and like 0 high-end blue chip guys.
Right.
The next year, he puts up 50 in the WHL, and everyone's like, he probably should have gone top 20 in this year's draft. So then he is the guy in that pool, along with like Boldy. And by the way, Boldy's first season at BC wasn't like a top 10 caliber pick, whatever, top 15 caliber pick. So like you're looking at Beckman like, oh, fuck, like we have a blue chip prospect. All of a sudden, the cupboard not only gets like filled, it is overflowing with just insanely high-end talent.
Hang on though, Z. Hang on.
Oh boy.
Rossi is the only guy that's played extended minutes in Minnesota since
I saw that tweet and I spit my coffee out. I wasn't even drinking.
What a fucking loser.
That was the worst tweet of all time. But like, so he had that kind of like misfortune of at one point he is the only blue chip guy with Matt Boldy. he's the one guy that they have that performs that year. All of a sudden, Judd Brackett gets hired, and it's like hit. Well, I guess you can't say the hit yet, but like when you go back and review all the prospects they brought in,
trending.
You're like, oh fuck. Like, this guy's nasty. Every goddamn draft. And then you make trades, and you end up with guys that you weren't expecting, like a Brock Faber. It's kind of like he almost becomes like the forgotten guy, and like that's where I wonder at this point with Beckman if there isn't really a path forward for him to literally make the team either. I mean, it's crazy just to say next year, because like it's another whole year from now. It's not like we're not talking about this like in March or April, and it's the end of the year now. It's like, okay, he like 10 months from now, hopefully he can make this fucking hockey team.
Yeah.
And like these are the pivotal years now, like with how the league's going. It's the guys that are 20 through 25, 26 years old. Like, not only do they just get a footing, but they're some of the best players on the planet. So I do wonder if they're going to end up being tempted, whether it's mid-season. But like, again, if I'm Adam Beckman, like I'm sitting like, all right, if I literally just don't have a chance to crack this lineup this year on a full-time basis, like, he's shown that he wants to stay. He's shown he could be a great personality on this team too, with a ton of talent. Obviously, like we've seen it before. It was funny just listening to the comments about him from the established players. Like, dude, he fucking walked in here like he was the captain. It was hilarious. It's like not in a bad way. He was just very comfortable. But I mean, if I'm back, I'm saying, all right, if I don't have a chance here, like I would like to go somewhere where I might have a chance of ending up in the lineup sooner. It sucks. Because he's the man. Like, I love having an Adam Beckman on the hockey team that I root for. Like, he's the man. Like, he's a great player, and he's funny as shit. He's got a great personality. Everyone loves him. So it just sucks that, like, I don't know. It could end up happening somehow, but just like the way things that were pretty far out of his control, the way it's kind of like wound up here, like it doesn't seem like there isn't really an immediate path for him to establish himself in Minnesota full time, which just sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. I'd love to see it.
He's a good fucking hockey player, man.
It's because of that driveway work.
Yeah. I still,
now, we haven't talked about a guy that you were like crushing on hard last year. What have we seen from Caedan Bankier?
He's been injured. I don't even know how many games.
He hasn't played at all?
I have to pull it up. I don't know how many games he's even actually played.
Well, okay. Speaking of injured, how about Mason Shaw? Is he back? When will he be back?
Not back. He's still out.
But do we have any timetable? Like, I assumed he hadn't played. I just didn't know. Like, are we expecting him back soon?
I don't know, because I mean, I think the last update we got was just like, hey, by the way, like he started skating recently. That was like a couple weeks ago. Okay. So I would imagine he's still got a ways to go.
All right. So not
in
much
in terms of like being in that lineup. Yeah.
Sure. We got one more question that we will probably close out on here, Z. But before that, everyone that's tuned into the live stream, anyone that's listening to the podcast as it drops on Friday, if you haven't already, please check out our friends at Better Edge, betteredge.com/SotaPod. I just threw it into the chats. You can see it here on the screen. If you are at all interested in betting on sports, like, please go check it out and sign up. You literally put in your name, take a picture of your driver's license to prove that you are who you are and that you're of legal gambling age. It is legal in Minnesota, and I think like 47 of the 50 states. So anyone tuning in that maybe falls outside that, you can check. But lots of great betting opportunities across sports, and we're actually going to be doing game day betting for the Minnesota Wild. You can bet on win-lose, puck line, over-under. You can bet on over-unders for points for players, goals for players in the game. And we'll be running contests every single game. Might even be getting Jesse Pierce in for a competitive angle on some of this. That's yet to be determined. But
hopefully she hung over because it's awesome what she is.
I don't know, dude. When she was hungover, she said the Ducks were good.
I
They were
know.
They were good until like a week or two ago. So no, that's all it is. Like Jesse, get her hungover, and she's like the Oracle all of a sudden. It's like Woozy, like I got no idea what's happening. Like the people that roll the eyes in the back of their head, and all of a sudden they're like the all seers, and she's just like, guys, last night was rough. Oh, by the way, John Hynes, bad coaching hire. I'm out. But if you sign up with our code here, you get $20 for free. You don't have to put any money in. Play a couple of competitions. Ours are going to be $5 each. Winner takes all. If you aren't into it, lose your money, don't feel it, hey, so be it. But why not try it for free? Throw some bets in, and worst case, you come out a little ahead. So please check that out. We will be dropping those for most Wild game days. I won't sit here and promise that it's every single one, but we're going to try and cover most of them from here on out through the season. So check it out. If you don't bet at all, then hey, I get it. But if you bet on sports at all, this is legal. It is fun. And it helps our friends over at Better Edge, who we like very much.
It can be fun. Unless you're me, and then you start resorting to the Slovakian Pro League.
Yeah, I don't think they have Slovakian Pro League odds. I'll check with them on that.
Yeah, they probably should. They probably should, though.
Oh, God damn it. Last question here, then, unless you have anything we want to expand on after. But Caedan Bankier jumping back in here. With a few of the lower linesmen becoming free agents after this year, how many of those guys do you think they will let go and replace with prospects? Will they bring anyone up full time next year?
Yeah, and like there are a couple obvious ones, right? Like Pat Maroon, I would imagine.
Oh, he's a deadline trade unless the Wild go on a tear.
Right. But even then, even if they go on the tear, but whatever, like the only way that guy's back on this team next year is if it's, which you could argue is, should that even happen? Well, he's been good, so I can't even be like, oh, that would be a bad thing. I can't even say that shit. But he's like a league mid guy. But
you give him an NMC immediately.
Yeah, but there are plenty of guys. What's interesting with like the guys like at the bottom of the end of the lineup is just, all right, so which prospects are we looking at and being excited about with the idea of them being like a fourth line winger, right? Like, so that's where it kind of gets interesting. It
doesn't have to be that.
No, I'm just, well, the expiring deals thing. So that's what I was saying. Like,
right. But Foligno, Evason, like both of them could easily shift down to the fourth line next year.
Evason.
I'm still going to call him that, even though the coach is gone.
Keep that one going. I mean, I don't know. I have a problem if Foligno's making 4 sheets on the fourth line. That's a problem. But I take your point though.
No, but, right. I'm just, yeah.
The one that sucks, and I at this point, I think he probably is going to find a better deal than what he's going to get offered is like Duhaime. Like, as much as I love him, he's going to be 27. What is he? Someone will pay him more than the Wild are going to be prepared to. Yeah. What's his role going to be like in a new team? I don't know, but I think there's someone that's going to be able to like, because when he's on, dude, like he is a nightmare matchup. Like
so far.
He is a piece of fucking shit on the ice. Shout out Middleton Hartman. But like he also has that sneaky skill that he doesn't really get a whole lot of credit for because there's so much stuff he does on the ice that like isn't just him being a lunatic, even though that's what we love him for. Like those are like he has a lot of tools in his bag. And that's why I love the kid. But I think a 27-year-old Duhaime probably is going to get a better offer somewhere else. And like at that point, do you want to outbid them, whatever? So you're looking at guys like Maroon, Duhaime. The interesting ones will be, is Dewar an RFA?
RFA, yeah.
they're gonna want to keep him, but you think
But you can
there
also
aren't teams that are gonna be like,
DNR.
hey, I'll give you something nice for a kid like Connor Dewar. Depending on what that package is, I'd love to keep him, obviously.
And let's be real, Dean Evason being gone, Freddie Evason is now primed to be the fourth line center, which I don't think is a problem.
No, you can still play. Yeah.
So the real question, let's get to the meat on the bone here. Guys that you think can come in off the cuff, Brad Huzendinov, can he be a third or fourth line center next year in the NHL?
I think the KHL guys have a leg up because it is such a similar league. Obviously, it's a step down. Again, it's just been a weird year. Well, weird start to this season for Huzendinov, where given the really like up and down shit with Ska, or well, just the down shit with Ska, really. Watching him with social, there's still those flashes. He's played really well overall, but there's just been like a few more of the bad habits that you weren't used to seeing him when he was fully confident last year. But I look at those guys, Huzendinov and Yurov. Oh my God, he is ripping it up right now. Holy,
he's been doing some interesting things.
He is playing unbelievable right now. Like best player on the ice every fucking game. And they have no choice but to give him like 28 shifts, 20 minutes a night. And like he's putting up points and even strength. He's killing penalties, like just serving up dimes of assists. He's on the ice late in close games. He's blocking shots. Like he's feeling it right now. And you are just sitting there like, there he is. Like, there he is. Thank God it's still in there because he got fucked with so bad last
child that was promised.
Oh God, he's unbelievable, dude. Like watching him play it's the best. He's so fun. But those guys, because I look at the KHL, obviously a pretty big step down, but it's like I feel like it's probably the closest to the NHL in Europe.
Well, yeah,
and you've got some high end guys who. Like it's better than the AHL probably, just with some of the guys that could play in the NHL just don't want to because they make insane amounts of money. Technically, their salary cap is like so minuscule, but those guys are making like 9.5 with just like some of the most ridiculous contracts too. But that's a whole other topic. But I look at those two guys as having shots of playing. Like Huzendinov is the one that's interesting to me. Like it's tough for any small center to adjust to the NHL, but he's a guy, he can play the wing. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to play center. That's the thing. Like he can be just as effective anywed. And obviously the NHL was going to be a big adjustment for him more so, I think, honestly, than a kid like Yurov. Because Yurov's already got the size, the physical. Well, not even the physicality, because Huzendinov plenty fucking physical. It's still just a different game, like the one Yurov plays. But I look at the KHL guys are the ones that I feel like will have the easiest transition, and potentially could. I mean, like Yurov looks like he's ready. Now, this is very much like in the moment. Because there were certain times at the beginning of the year where it was like the coach was like, "Hey, you know what? Fuck that guy. Sit your fucking ass down. No time on ice for you." And you're like,
"What's the KHL though? Like we have to all accept that ice time there is voodoo. It makes no sense. They pull names out of a hat and they're like, all right, let's go."
Mm-hmm. Right. So, that's what I mean. Like so, when he wasn't getting a whole lot of it, like he just wasn't confident, looked different, and now he is just. Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable. Like he's a different hockey player, but again, all that really was to say those two could have definitely. It's not a situation like we can't just get excited about the good prospects. Like we're gonna plug them in and fix all the problems. Like these are legitimately two guys that could come over and play. Like they have a real chance to, and be effective.
Now, Katie, to answer your question, then Z made it very clear that Adam Beckman is not among those that are in consideration for playing time next year.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're not across the Atlantic, no point.
Yeah. The ones that I'm interested in though too, like I think you look at the back end. The UFAs, Goligoski, Bogosian. Thank you for your service. Smell you later.
Oh God, we got one more year of Merrill, don't we?
That's what I'm interested in. Like, how do you not? Oh, 6th round pick? Yes, sure. 7th? I don't care.
No.
Fuck it. You know what? Let's buy another one out. I don't give a shit.
No, dude.
We're already fucking $1 billion. Well, no, $1 billion. In buyout hell, anyways. Who cares? Fucking don't care.
One of Arizona's favorite players.
Bring him back.
Future considerations. I'll take it.
Yeah. Why not?
I just hope we don't have to give up a pick to get him off the roster.
Yeah. I don't think you would. But.
I mean, that's fair. People actually traded for Kulikov, so you never know.
I know. But that's what I'm interested in, though. Like, the other two are obvious. You have to wonder what they do with Merrill. Because, like, coming into this year, it's like, all right, well, I mean, he's an NHL defenseman, I guess, when he's healthy. And it was like, oh, maybe he's not. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe that was incorrect on our part. It's been bad. But I don't know. But David Hunt, Dakota Mervis, those are the guys right there. We'll see what happens with like O'Rourke when he gets healthy. I think he probably will be fine, like doing another year in the AHL at least. Master's not ready, those guys. But the big one though that I think is pretty much a sure thing. Jesper Wallstedt is
funny. I was gonna see if I could speak through this without you talking
nasty.
about him. So
nasty.
You pass.
He is unbelievable. Like he is so fucking good. Like it was brutal because those 2 goals that game that I watched on Saturday, I mean, no chance. And like there were large like amounts of time between him even having to do anything. And then randomly, like they would just give up this flurry of scoring chances. Nice. And it was nice. Yeah, nailed it. And he just like no problem. And he's just making some of these crazy saves look unbelievably easy. Like it's just he just looks like ready. Like he just looks like an NHL goaltender. He's so poised at all times. He reads the play unbelievably well. And like again, with him at this point, when you're looking at him going 12 minutes without having to like really bend his knees for more than 30 seconds, and all of a sudden he's like going left to right, glove save, like grand larceny, making these like those when the like a 2-on-1 rush pass across the crease tip, like don't know where the puck's going. He's right in the chest, square to it every time. He's just like he's always on, but he's just incredibly impressive every time I watch him play. So that's the guy that I'm actually sneaky, not so sneaky, but like honestly the most excited about, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, we can end on that one. That's what I got.
Like given.
Oh, actually, someone brought Jimmy Clark OT winner, and it was nasty. That was sick. Jimmy, that goal that he scored was so nice. The fact that he like back to the net, but still caught the puck and had the patience to just wait out the goaltender and then fucking just put it around him and go, that was nasty.
What he's doing this year, like he won't get enough credit publicly. I'm beyond impressed with how he's played this year. He has shown he can play any role, he can play with anyone, and he's just gonna be consistent.
Yeah,
like he's not gonna be super flashy, but then every time you like forget about him, he's gonna be like, oh yeah, guys, I can also do this crazy shit. Look at this. But like he's never out of place. He's doing the right things. It's
the fact that he's on the ice at that time tells you a whole lot too. Against Michigan State,
he's doing this after originally not planning on playing college hockey this year. Like, oh yeah, dude, Logan Cooley left. Get over here.
What are your plans? What are you up to for the next, I don't know, 4 years? Would you like to make a massive decision right now?
No. And then immediately Jimmy's like, depends. Did you ask Beckett Hendrickson first?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Shit. He's on to us, guys. He's on to us.
No, we didn't do that.
No, we would never. I'm sitting with him right now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, you fuckers. Yeah.
You guys know he's in Boston, right? I was kidding.
That was sick. That was so sick, though. That was I love that. Again, he was the fact that he's on the ice tells you a lot. At that time tells you a whole lot. Good for him. Even if the points aren't there, it doesn't matter. He is a very reliable. Which is, I've said this every time we talk about him. Exactly what I feel like Minnesota really did need. It's just, hey, if he's not scoring, it's not a problem. Because guess what? He's doing literally everything else, making everyone else's lives a whole lot easier. So good for Jimmy Clark. Shout out Charlie Stramel. First goal of the year.
Woo!
Yep. And he actually looked good. I was watching a little bit. He was. They were playing Colorado. Was it Colorado?
Well, little known fact though, a lot of people will try and tell you that the Wild reached for him when in reality he was actually the last pick of the second round.
Yeah.
In the first round, the Minnesota Wild took Riley Heidt. Then they took Rasmus Kumpalainen. Then they took Charlie Stramel, and everyone should be pretty happy about all of those players going where they went.
Done. Yeah. Yep. Done. There it is.
Kansas City Shuffle.
Kansas City Shuffle. And then these will actually be the last things. Just we have to bring it up. Rick Lorenz now surpassed his goal total from last year, his point total and assist total from last year in 30 fewer games. He looks unbelievable.
Is he still our best NCAA prospect? It's literally what you said last week.
Right now he is, yeah.
That's all I need.
I hate oh shit, I did say that. Actually, yeah, no, it checks out for a second.
Good thing none of this shit's recorded, so no one will know.
I might look like a moron later. Fuck, all right. But he was great. Ryan Healy scored one of the most ridiculous goals of the year, end to end, diced 5 guys on UMass, tucked, second goal of the game. It was so nasty.
Buttered the toast.
Unfortunately, they ran into a fucking UMass, and then BC just kicked the shit out of them. But
is there more of like a polar opposite matchup than UMass versus Harvard as far as just like what the school is?
What they're known for? Like, it's a reputation. What? Yeah.
Harvard's like, we read books. UMass, we like to party.
UMass like, we don't care. Okay, whatever.
I prefer my Jesus in a tuxedo t-shirt.
Yeah. There's one other guy. Oh, Liam Ogren returns to lineup, third game, scores an absolute snipe.
I assumed you disowned him when you didn't mention him as being a candidate for next year. So,
well, I just had to. Well, yeah. But either way, I just had to bring him up. We can actually end on him. That was a beauty too. That was a rip. He can fuck it. That release is insane. But good for Liam Ogren. Happy to see him back at the ice, healthy, playing well. Good to see him find the back of the net. Hopefully that just leads to the flurry of goals for him. And that'll do it.
Imagine the Wild just dropping their current third line to the fourth line next year when the fourth line's gone, and having who's Nadinov centering Yurov and Ugrin for the third line. Oh my God. That would do things.
Oof. That'd make it move. It's one of my favorite things. Oh,
hot tata.
All right, that'll do it. We'll see you next week because I gotta go. Actually, anyways. Oh my God, the internet's now shitting itself. First time, the whole time.
Look at that.
Hurry, end it. Hurry. End it.